I'm back with another video because I took a little break and then I was just still thinking. After my break, I'm thinking about it, like what's really going on here. So that's kind of what I've been doing is with these videos is I'm trying to talk it through with you guys so I can fully understand and get a grasp on what's happening and why it's happening. So this is the book that I was referring to in that last video. I will go ahead and read this month so I know the exact contents of it. That's like, you know, all in one place, but just in case anyone is interested in what I was talking about. So this is something that's on my mind, and I'll explain this and then we'll see how this relates, because it's something that I was thinking about lately. I don't remember in reference to what. I think it was because when I recorded the Aaliyah video, and that was, I don't know when I recorded that, several weeks ago, I think. And I was thinking about the processes of information, right? Like, here's the truth, the whole truth, right? And then we have like the media down here, right? And then the media we'll put as like one singular reporter, and this reporter has their own personal bias. And then above the reporter there's like their boss, right? And the boss has their own bias. So they dictate and they overrule what the reporter says, right? And then above the boss you have the entire company, and the company decides on how to release this information, how to release it. And then it kind of goes up that hierarchy to what the absolute truth is, right? And there's just bias upon bias, and then whatever kind of ulterior motives they might have. So that's kind of why I have so many questions with everything, because I want to know the absolute truth from every perspective. And I think what's going on is completely unnecessary and tragic. But why is this going on, right? And I briefly made that example about Mexico. And it's basically what I'm saying is I can just imagine, I can imagine where Russia's coming from in this moment, because we don't have anything similar to that. I think the closest we could ever think about is Israel and Palestine, but even then that's completely different, right? That's still completely different. And so it seems like Russia was told that they can invade these two places, and then as soon as they did, it was like everything broke loose and everyone kind of like reneged on what they were saying, and then they're all pointing the finger at Russia. It's kind of what it feels like. But I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. It's like he shouldn't have done that to begin with, but did he do that because he's thinking several steps ahead? Because of everything that I'm gathering here and what I gathered in the other videos, it's like they're so narrow-minded. It's like, you know, when a dog sees red, they don't see everything else that's going on. They just attack, 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 attack. And so they're not aware of their surroundings fully. They're just aware of what they're going after. And so this is kind of what I see with regards to people who are ill-intentioned, like ill-willed. But that's not just ill-willed people, right? That can be just emboldened or impassioned people, very passionate people. Like, you can have a narrow mind because you get overly excited, right? So that's why you have to pull yourself out of it to kind of see to see the whole perspective. It's very difficult to do that unless you remain grounded. You don't take an emotional stance on things and see it from all angles. And so it's just what I was getting at with Russia is it's just when you think about what had happened during the Holocaust, and then now everyone's kind of pointing the finger at Russia, like that has to be really, really, that has to be a sore spot. That wasn't that long ago, right? Like those people, some of those people are still alive. A lot of those people are still alive. So I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to think about. But at the same time, it's not like they're absolved of anything wrong, right? He's not an innocent angel himself. So it's really strange. It's really strange. And then the information that I was able to find that's real, you know, this is real stuff that's been going on in that last video. It's kind of crazy. It's weird. So, the other thing, so after I was looking at all of this, I was like, what do I need to know? Like me, myself, what is going on? What's going on? And I thought this was also strange. Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, these are the only cards I pulled. And they're all Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel. And so I left this out to point this out to you guys because I find that very fascinating. And I talked about how like there's guardians, like they're constantly coming up. They're constantly coming up, these guardians, right? And then I'm going to show you there's a lot of similar images in here that are being revealed to me, like the way that it's drawing my attention. See, it's like magic guardian, fire guardian, seeing beyond the current situation. It's like taking this higher perspective and seeing everything for what it is. And I started thinking to myself, like, okay, from a economic standpoint, this doesn't seem wise for anyone to be involved in a nuclear war, right? And when you think about nuclear bombs, I'm just like, sorry, it's actually not funny, but you think, like the second coming of Christ, isn't that what's supposed to happen? Is just like everything starts getting wiped out everywhere. So it's just like, let's not do that, please. That would be great. But you think those are pinpoint areas. Those are precise areas. So if they were gonna do that, they would pick, I don't know where they would pick, but they would probably pick big cities like LA, stuff like that, right? I don't know where else they would go, but they would probably start with those places and destroy places that have like a lot of infrastructure. Maybe even Seattle or something. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say like specific places. I'm just trying to understand. At that point, they would be an enemy, but it's like where they, like, what do we do? What do we do? And to me, it's like, so economically, that doesn't make any sense for anyone because you depend on each other, right? In order to make money. So if you destroy each other's countries, if you're like a big importer of your goods or whatever kind of financial exchange, what's the point unless you were actually working together? And if you follow my train of thought with depopulation, then that's one way that would make sense. Another way it can make sense is how the wars seem to have made sense then too, of a method of controlling people, and how that makes rich people richer, right? And how during this whole time that's happened, right? This whole issue that's been going on the past couple years, it bankrupt a lot of people, right? It bankrupt a lot of hard-working business owners, and it's making it a lot more difficult for business owners because now people are expecting more pay. And, you know, I think the average person who's not a business owner doesn't realize the money that gets put into that. So they don't have the same finances that these huge corporations have. It's not the same. And so people demand and put different expectations, like they almost feel entitled to that kind of treatment because it's more personal than they do. Like, it's kind of backwards, right? I see that a lot. And then there's the businesses that survive through that are more successful, and then you have regular people who also got extremely successful during this time. Now, that's not good for people who want to stay in power, right? Like I said, because this is my belief, is that they want people to stay motivated but tired. And you can't have people who are, this is my perception, I don't know if this is true, but it's like you can't have people who are too many people who are able to get ahead. You have to put obstacles in the way because they want it for themselves, right? They're selfish, they're greedy. And that's not just their own fault. I think once you get to a certain point, sometimes that's just, you kind of fall into that trap of like, this is the way it is, or whatever. Like, you kind of get into that rat race and that mentality. So I kind of get it. Like, that's what I said in one of my other videos, whichever one, where it's like, they're well-intentioned people that join, you know, the government, or they join whatever kind of politics or whatever, and they have a good heart, but things happen and whatever. So the other thing is about the finances. How can they gain anything from the war, from any sort of major war, if it dismantles so many different people? Well, that I can see with the currency, with having that singular currency, and how that would be cryptocurrency, like a new form of currency. And if you think, the form of currency we have now is relatively new, right? Because I was being drawn, this is what reminded me of it, is I was drawn to the beads on the shaman. And there's multiple meanings I see for the beads, but these beads are extremely significant to this reading. They feel so real, like this image feels so real that I could just touch the beads and that feather. Like, that's how important it feels to me, is it feels so tangible. It's wild the way that comes across. And the representation that I see is using beads for trade, right? Like trading that as a currency at one point, and how other people or communities have different forms of trade. Now, if you had a unifying currency and it was I was going to say social currency, but if you have like a cryptocurrency that everyone works under, then you can shut people down. And that brings me to like Canada, where they're having those protests, those peaceful protests, and they shut them down and they shut their bank accounts down, which there's supposed to be truckers that are protesting to DC soon. So that's probably not in the news. I don't know if they're there already. I think they're still making their way over there, but that's not being publicized, I'm sure. I mean, I haven't seen it, but yeah, so the reason that was brought up to me is because I know Elon Musk is bringing internet to Ukraine, and so this is providing society eyes on, hey, the internet can never go away, especially in wartime, which means you can't shut people's money off, right? And so then that would give people that choice. They would make the choice, because it's all uninformed decisions. Like, people are making decisions without all the information. They're just following what supposedly trusted sources are telling them, and then they're emboldened with whatever kind of opinion, because they care, people deeply care, and the brainwashed versions of people, I feel, is that's what I'm trying to connect with, like all of the social media and memes and everything, is you're using short bursts of your mind. It's just a reactionary thing. You're using short bursts. You're not analyzing. You're training yourself to just go off of short bursts of information instead of, you know, figuring it out, you know? You get what I'm saying. So that is where I can see that. And when you have a one currency, then you can really control a population that way, and you can control what that money means to people. You can control everything. You control everything with that. So that's where that would make sense to me. I'm not sure if I'm only seeing it in one way though. I'm trying to see in other angles, but that's like where my mind's sticking to, and I don't know if it's because that's just my own bias and I'm just wanting that to be that. I have no idea. Just letting you guys know. So there are a lot of repeating themes here that I thought was really interesting. We can start with like the shaman, the spirit fox, which they look similar to me, and then the shaman again. So 2, 3, to me it's 3 shamans, which I find interesting. And then we have this, which is right here. So when I look, there's the repeating theme. One of the repeating themes is, and this too, okay, so we have this oracle, wait for important information, and I believe it's Metatron, from the last video, and it's holding this, and I talked about it in the last video, but it was in the Putin video where it's like, looks like that. I think it's Metatron. And it's here too. I'm looking at it here too. I know because it's like similar decks and like the same deck, but the way the images come across to me is different every time I look at them, right? And it's the owls, yes, okay, the owls, but it's especially the crows, where I feel like it's like, let me see if I can get the message. Here's what I'm hearing, is to look at the beads of bloodshed. Look at the beads of bloodshed and death. Bloodshed and death united through wisdom, through peace. Because I think about how the rosary, each little bead represents part of a prayer. And what is the significance? Maybe there's a Native American, I'm sure we can look it up online, but the meaning of these beads, like what do the beads mean for Native Americans? Like what do the colors mean? And it's the same thing here of being cornered by blood and by, it's like evil. It's like death and blood is like war, death and war. And death is also like rebirth. It's like purifying, right? The blood is the passion, the effort. So there's a lot of rebirth happening, and again, the purification. There's that emphasis on purification, of purifying. It's purifying everyone in some way. Maybe it's different for everyone, whether it's like purifying people's minds or the earth, or are they talking about something that is like World War II that they call like ethnic cleansing? Like, is there going to be some sort of racial battle? I hope not. That would be awful. Because it feels, what does it feel like? It feels like tension, a lot of tension, but it's an illusion, you know? And how, I think I mentioned this, I mentioned it several times at this point now, where it's like that pain can be grounding. It can be grounding, because after you release that pain, or you perceive, like you understand why you're feeling pain, and then you're out of it, like once that stress is over, it feels amazing. So it is kind of like when after the war happened and there was this resurgence. I'm talking about for America. I don't know how it was in other places, but it's like that resurgence of pride and unity and appreciation for each other, where it's like not a cleansing, but it's an appreciation of everyone. It's a cleansing of everyone's soul, of realizing like we're the same, we're similar, we're in this together, no matter what race or creed, right? Because again, this crow, I feel, is the messenger, right? It's this intelligence, it's this wisdom that is within all of us. And these two owls are underestimating the crow. They could both eat the crow. They want to eat the crow, right? And yet they don't realize there's a whole murder of them coming in the background. They're all coming in to attack the owls. And that's like the other one where they're outnumbered. They're ambushed. And I feel like this is a representation of the good people in the world, the civilian. I mean, it's not, the military is good people as well. I'm not vindicating them. It's only a select few people, right, that I feel are responsible for this. And I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do in this position. I really don't. But I see like, one second, my phone. Okay, so, the point is we're gonna get through this. I think in a more, it just, I don't like saying this because people's lives have already been lost, and it's terrible. It's terrible to think about, and it's just very sad. It just feels like we will get through this. Like we're going to, it's a deepening of understanding each other through this. And a lot of people are going to wisen up. A lot of people. So, another repeating theme that I see here is, let me put these away so I can distinguish, just the meadow in here. Oh, and you see lightning too. The lightning and meadow. Because I was looking at this and I was staring and staring and staring. Oh, no, I was looking at this and staring at, and then I got this card and I'm like, because it seems as if, and this is, okay, I'm just going to tell you a couple things and then we'll kind of see where this goes. So this, I feel, is representation of, I'm saying the people in power, it feels like a handful of people, like, you know, whatever you want to call them, but that have been in power since probably like the very beginning, and then people under them working, and then of course they traumatize people beyond that, and that's kind of where this all goes. So this is something that I would always see in my mind. Don't know if I mentioned it, but it was the lotus flower. And then this came out as I was trying to decide, like, or think about, like, just garner more information about it. And this is what I got about them. So I'm like, so that obviously means something. It's a spiritual awakening. So maybe it's awakening people that work beneath them, because I know it might sound, I don't know how clear I'm coming across, but there are really a lot of wonderful people that work within the political and government systems that are fighting for peace. They're fighting for bettering the world, and they've stayed clean and committed. They've stayed very clean and committed, and free from all of this kind of stuff. And I feel like it's like them throwing, like, bad people, they're just throwing everything at us just to try and, it's like if you think of someone who's a really toxic person, and you think about like some bad person in your life, and it's like when you try and call them out on their crap, and then they just start spewing everything, or they don't even know, so they start like throwing things around and breaking things, and you're like, what are you doing? You know, like, you're being crazy. So obviously I called you out accurately, otherwise like you wouldn't be acting so erratic, right? And that's kind of what I see, is they're just going berserk. And also I think about, like, on social media, these people, it's like kind of trying to identify why they're saying the things they're saying, and what do they know for them to say that? Like, who are their associates? And then on top of that, how do you know that a lot of these other people that are just like regular people aren't just bots or something? Like, how do you know who you're talking to? So I would just probably stick to like talking to regular people in life or something. But anyway, and then I saw dawn and new beginnings, and sometimes this reminds me of Lucifer. Because they call it like the new dawn or whatever, and, you know, light bearer and yada yada. So I think that it's the illusion. I said this in the other one, but I really, like, now I'm like really sticking to it, that the veil is going to be lifted. The veil is going to be lifted on these people, but it's such a surreal feeling to think that this is actually potentially going to happen. So it's hard for me to believe what I'm seeing. And it brings me back. This is something else that I was like being drawn to. It brings me back to before the pandemic, and I had heard rumors of this kind of stuff. I already started feeling it, and then I started just like, it started getting stronger and stronger, and then I started hearing rumors, right? And then I was out of the country when the news had broken. It had broken like in regional areas, right? So it wasn't like full blown everywhere yet. And when I was out of the country, and I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be really, really bad. What's going to happen? And I was just looking around at people, and everyone was just going about their day. And I was just thinking, like, the world's about to change. And everyone's just acting normal. Like, I'm never going to, like, look at the world the same way. Like, what is going to happen? And then I was in the airport and I'm like nervous and like all this stuff. Like I was just kind of like, it was such a weird feeling. And then like going out in public and I was like starting to get things ready. And it was just weird. It was weird because nobody cared or nobody knew. And I was just, it felt so otherworldly. It felt so strange. And you just didn't know what was going to happen. And the truth, I think this isn't the truth. It's like that is really actually a very deadly bioweapon, right? Like that's a very deadly disease. Virus. It's a very deadly virus. And thankfully it did morph to ones that are less lethal, right? But at the same time, it's still affecting you internally, and it's you guys need to really do the research if you haven't done the research. But thankfully, there are ways to work around this kind of stuff in some ways. But then you have like I'm just jumping now to where we have these extreme attitudes where it's like, I don't social distance, I don't do all this stuff, and it's like, but why, right? Are you just doing it to be obtuse? Like, what is the reason? The masks, which are proven to not work, is because the particles are so tiny they can penetrate it. Plus, it attaches onto you through your eyes. It can attach onto your skin. It can attach onto your clothes and on your things and through feces. There are many ways that it can spread. So you get what I'm saying. So anyway, it's kind of that same feeling that I'm getting where it's kind of hard to believe and I don't have a full grasp on it, where I know exactly what's going to happen because I don't know if you really know. I don't know. It seems like everything's just like set in, like kind of set forth, like destiny, but it feels like this. It feels like this is a soul's like a collective rite of passage for everyone. Like, are we going to break the chain? Are we going to trust our inner compass, right? Are we going to take this quest? Are we going to move beyond ancestral patterns? Are we going to take like a vision quest? Are we going to meditate on this, you know, as our prophets or whomever, like those people do, right? Like, are we going to do this? Are we going to create heaven on earth? Like, are we going to do that? Birth a new age of enlightenment. This is our choice. This is our opportunity. We the people of everywhere. And I saw in the news, there were people in Germany, like 100,000 people protesting anti-war. Like, we should not stand for war anywhere. That includes what Putin is doing. We should not stand for war ever, but especially if we don't have the information. Why are they trying to push us to make a decision on something when it's like if two kids are fighting and then you take sides, when it's like you should sit them down and be like, what's going on? What happened? Tell me what happened here. Tell me from your point of view. Where do we resolve from this? Like, they're completely outnumbered. You think about the few people that are in powerful positions that are bad people. They're outnumbered. I don't know how the communist people do it. I don't know how they did it, but, you know, anyway, I'll leave them alone. Because I don't know. So, and then you see, it's like divine plan. And I feel like the guardian, again, it's these guardians, these guardian angels, they're all watching us. And I don't know if they would allow us to have a nuclear attack. But then wouldn't that fall in line again with the second coming? They would come down and be like, hey, cut it out. But then that also falls in line with what I was saying with the fake alien invasion. I don't know if I talked about it in the other videos. I don't know. I can't remember what I said, but that's essentially what I'm saying, is that they would do these false, it would be false flags of all different kinds of prophets or whatever's supposed to happen, to stimulate a false second coming in order for people to pick a side, right? And to follow through with what this, it would be the Antichrist. It would be the Antichrist, and you have to follow your intuition to know that, right? Otherwise, if you're following fear, then you're just going to accept whatever is out there. You can't accept fear. You have to accept what's inside of you. And I think that's really scary for people if you don't know if you can trust yourself or not, right? If you feel like, oh, I'm not really intuitive, or I'm not psychic, how am I going to know? You'll know. You'll know. You have to learn to trust yourself. You have to have faith in yourself. And having faith in yourself isn't relying solely on yourself. It's having faith in a higher power. It's having faith that good will always outweigh the bad, and that you are capable of making the right decision. You are capable of doing the right thing, no matter what circumstance you're placed under. And knowing that you are allowed to make mistakes and change path and change course, and that you can learn from those experiences, and you can apply that grace to other people because you've granted that to yourself. And giving yourself those freedoms, that liberation, that, and then giving that to others, that frees your intuition up. That takes, the biggest thing, it is your heart. The biggest thing, like the other one I had, the other video, it was the other video where it had the heart guardian. It's really important that you break open your heart. A lot of people's hearts are closed because they live stressful lives. And so that's the place, one of the number one places that you protect yourself. You protect your heart because it's the most fragile. And that's something that unlocks all of this inner wisdom. That's what unlocks your intuition the most, is divine love for yourself and others. So lastly, it's pretty much lastly, so let's look at where I feel that we're headed, and this is the surreal part for me. The example I can give is, like, if you've had a long-standing crush on someone for so long and then you somehow, like, years and years later or something, you find out that they have feelings for you too, and it's like you spent all this time fantasizing about them, and then you find out, like, that it's real, and then you're like, oh, like, what does this mean for us? Like, what does this mean? And that's kind of what I see here, because is this real? Like, is this really about to happen? Is this too good to be true? This is something that we've always wished for. This is something that I've always wanted. I personally, I've always wanted this. Could this possibly be attainable? Or is this just a dream? I don't know. It's something that I've always believed, right? I believe that this can happen, but these are what I was seeing, is living in harmony and finding out what doesn't make sense, what doesn't align with our core beliefs as human beings. I don't know, I started thinking about Africa now, and like those, like Ethiopia, like those like poor African countries, and how they need help, like actually need help, And like, why are we wasting resources and time doing all this stuff? We can literally help save lives. Anyway, yeah, it kind of looks like to me that we've been looking in a mirror for so long that we identify ourselves with our reflection rather than who we truly are. So it's like shattering the glass and saying, hold up, like I've been staring at myself for so long, I didn't realize that it's almost like I'm real. Like, do you see what my example? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, if you were just staring in a mirror this entire time, like for however many years, and that's how you saw yourself, is everything that you see in this reflection. So then you kind of take yourself out of body. You get what I'm saying? So it's like shattering it, and then now you don't have that thing to stare at. You don't have that to identify as. Now you're just you. And then it's kind of weird, but also freeing. And you kind of realize how like a lot of stuff in your life doesn't align. How it's not comfortable. Like you don't like it. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't make sense. It's not right. Like it's a totally different standard way of living. I'm like stuck thinking about these poor countries and it's kind of bothering me right now. Sorry, that's custard. And custard's very rude. I just want to pull another one. Because I feel like I should. Yeah. You go first, the universe will catch you. Saying we'll be shown the way. It's okay to take a chance. There's the mirror. Mirror. Who or what is triggering you? And it's figuring out what isn't supposed to be there. So, and realizing why it's happening, I guess. So we have direction, guardian angel. Again with the guardians. This is the other repeating theme, is the heart. Compassion, blessings, the rainbow. So that's why I wonder, are we really going to have an even more worse time? And that's why I don't know the right way to say it, because people, you know, I have this blessed opportunity to like shut the camera off and go do whatever I want to do. Other people don't have that opportunity. And that's not just right now. That's been going on for many other places. So it's sobering reality. Not to mention that kind of reality can change. But I'm being drawn, see, with the feather and then the two here. And it's this unity amongst power. Amongst people who aren't the same, right? Like when I say China or these other places, it's not the China, the whole. Like the Chinese are amazing people, right? Russians are amazing people. Americans are like we're all very incredible people. I'll throw in, since I used Belize before, Belize or Costa Rica, like they're all really amazing, but we have so many different opinions, backgrounds, the way that we perceive things and experience things and understand. And that's just from countries alone. Now you think about your neighbors, right? And the people that you live with. It's always something, right? But we are capable of seeing eye to eye. We all have a unifying force, right? We have different paths, but also similar paths because we're from the same origin. So I feel like, I don't know if everyone's going to be having some sort of deep awakening experience or some sort of paranormal or angelic experience. I think this is more on real life terms where people come together for peace, and people come together to help those who are injured or that are hurt and starving. All of this, I think it's an awakening of what really matters and how we can change our lives for the better. But again, this is our choice, right? Like, you're met with these options every day. So I'm not sure. We'll see. Let's just see. Well, this came out again, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you can't really help but improve if everyone else improves around you, right? So maybe it's us learning from the mistakes of the past. We don't want to repeat the past. We don't want to repeat major wars. And with us being more connected than ever in this world and more capable than ever in this world, I think this is waking so many of these first world countries up on changing things within the system. A major change within all of the systems. It's like a clean out. It's a clean out of people who are corrupt in order to have a better system for people to live and thrive. I think everything's backfiring, and even all my Wednesday videos, not the celebrity ones that I have, but the ones I was talking about that are pre-recorded. Well, those are pre-recorded too, but their plan, their agenda, I feel, isn't panning out. It's not going how they expected. Even though they're throwing everything at us, they're not getting enough traction. So that's kind of interesting. Because I feel like this is also symbolic. It's symbolic of many different things in my mind. But if I were to look at this as the elder who is pretty much against humanity, we'll put it that way, these little spots I see as actual light, right? It's like they're penetrated by light. No one on earth, okay, and I've talked about this with satanic forces and demonic forces, and how people freely give their liberties up to demonic entities. They become possessed. They are no longer themselves. They move outside of their body. That's what they look like on a spiritual level, is they're no longer present. It's inhabited by entities. But if you know anyone that you think has some sort of possession, they're not all bad, like 100% bad all the time. And so that's where that deceit comes in. That's where that it gets very confusing for people, because the soul will always fight for the body. The soul is too strong and too pure. And so it's really up to that individual on whether they want to fight for it back. But the soul will always try. but there is a disassociation attached where you can kind of like pluck that string off if you really wanted to. It's their choice. But it doesn't completely sever, because you can't completely sever from God. We are created from God. And so even when I talk about Lucifer and all that, him even being a fallen angel, he's a product of God. So in theory, all these entities and all this evil stuff is still a product in some way of God. It's not of God, it's not of the light, it's of the human or the darker parts that are absent of God, but the creator of it is of God. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can never actually escape your parental DNA kind of thing. Like, you can never escape that. You can deny it as much as you want, but the truth is the truth. So, yeah, I don't know, something's going on there. They can hide and run and try and protect themselves as much as they can from the good, you know, from healing, but that'll never fully be, that's not something you can fully do. And going back to the people, I talked about with the people, that's why it gets really confusing, I think, for people. When you can think about any toxic person in your life, it's like, oh, but they're so kind, or they're so funny, or they're so charismatic, or they're really, really good with me, or they're really good with kids. It's like, yeah, but they also, you know, did some really bad stuff, like killed people. Well, you know, I'm trying to think of a murder or something. Like, but it's like, yeah, but and I'm overcomplicating it with that, but I don't have to explain it to you guys. So that's what I see, is it's more harmonious, and that there's peace after some hardships. This actually ends up working in favor of the majority of the people. Unfortunately, there have been lives lost, and you know, like, this definitely has to end, but it seems like sometime down the road, irregardless of what happens, our decisions, our overall decisions, are being guided and orchestrated by higher beings, by angelic higher beings. And I do feel like with everyone raising their vibration, you know, kind of just finding ways to be their best selves. Like, don't do anything out of fear or aggression. Start from a neutral standpoint and then come at it from love. That can really help people in times of need. Like, obviously they need practical ways. Like, they need practical help. You can't just wish good on people and it just happens. But on an energetic level, it's better than negativity. It's better than putting that out, right? And it just makes that a lot easier to navigate, so that those practical, tangible things can be put into place. Final message is stone people, vigilance. So, and karma, I was thinking about that card. Yeah. That reminds me of, oh, I already put it up. Was it in here? Kind of reminds me of the elder. It looks kind of sort of similar. So Yeah, I feel like this is just indication of being vigilant, of ridding yourself of bad karma in a way. Like, don't come at anything with anything that isn't love. Only act out of love. Only and how do you know? That's my thing. It's like, how do you know that you're acting out of love? Like, truly, because you could be going towards something that's incorrect, but think that you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, I am, but I'm doing this in the name of love. Like, it's kind of like going to battle, right? In the name of love. So, but I don't feel like real love is pain. I feel like real love is peace. It's love. It's, how do I say it's love? Real love is love. It's peace. It's harmonious. It's inclusive. It's patient. We have no, wait, postpone, pause, say no. And then align your life. What's not aligned or needs to change. So that wants to come out. There's something underneath. We'll look. Where are you being called to journey to? So pretty much just repeat information from the last video, where you don't have to take a stance. You can say no. You can say no, I want to wait. I need time. I need time to figure out how I feel. I need time to figure out what I want to do. I need time to tune in to how I feel and what information is presented to me in order to make the most informed and loving decision for everyone involved. And that's what I see here. Don't do things because it's fear, it makes you feel fearful. Okay, so don't pick that up. This is the one that was going to come out, river movement. Where I feel like things are, this one came, you saw that earlier maybe if you're looking. I think it's more about the mind. I guess it's just repeat stuff from the other video, is addressing things outside of ourselves. That we're not alone in this. And there's a lot more happening beneath the surface that we're not aware of. And to keep that in mind. And that also includes from the angelic realm. There's a lot more going on that we're not aware of with that. Okay, so I just have to stay grounded. So I guess that's it. That's it. I don't have anything else. Another guardian. Connect with your emotions. There's the same stuff. There's this freaking card. The Star Ancestor. I'm gonna read. Let's see what Star Ancestor says, and then I'm over it. I'm not over it, but you know what I mean. Star Ancestor. Heed the messages coming directly from your soul. This is a term for extraterrestrial light beings who are dedicated to healing and the growth of the world. They're divine embodiments of love who bring wisdom from the higher realms, and often people can feel a sense of connectedness when they look up into the night sky and see the stars, because they're remembering their starry connections. It's reminding people to, it's reminding us that we have otherworldly support and friends that are willing to help and connect you with your deepest calling. So I guess this is very, very, very strongly wanting to come through that the aliens are saying hello. If you made it this far, they're aliens saying hello to you. This handsome alien. Well, he won't focus, but go out and look at the stars tonight. Maybe you'll see a spaceship. Say hey to them and see if something freaky happens. Bye.